Hi, and welcome back to episode 2 of Unemployment Speaks. This episode is called Unemployment Hurts. Let's talk about it. And today I would like to slow things down and talk about something that doesn't always get the space it deserves. And that is the emotional side of unemployment. Because let's be honest, losing a job isn't about money, it's about identity, it's about routine. It's about how we see ourselves and how the world sees us. And when all of that gets shaken, the emotional fallout can be intense. So today I'm not giving you a checklist. I'm not offering quick fixes. I'm just here to speak the truth, to name the feelings, to hold space for what hurts. Let me take you back to the moment that I got laid off. I remember I was at home, just finished having breakfast because I was on a leave from work because I lost my dad and my uncle last June on the same day, pretty much, and there was a lot that I was responsible for as far as getting making arrangements and all of that. So after everything was done, I needed a break. And so I was on a leave from work and I got a call and looked at my phone and I was thinking that it was human resources calling me to see when or the leave team calling me to see when I was coming back because I was actually scheduled to come back within like 2 weeks from the time that I got the call. So got the call and, you know, was told that due to restructuring, blah blah blah, your position has been eliminated, it's not you, all of that. And like after that, like everything else that was said, I can't even tell you what else was said except for we'll set aside some time to contact you next week to talk about your severance next steps, and answer any questions you may have. Like I went numb. I was shocked, and at the same time, I kind of wasn't, because I kind of was expecting this to happen at some point in the next few years, but at that particular time, I was not. So I, um, after that, I just sat there after the call in shock. I called my mom and told her, and she was, giving me all the encouragement that someone would give you when you just tell them that that happened to you, and not to worry, everything's going to be okay. Just take some time to rest, all of the things. And so, it was like, again, I'm sitting there just kind of sitting with what I just heard, and I felt numb. Like someone just like hit the pause button on my life. And after sitting there thinking and processing after a few hours, replaying the call in my head, the parts I can remember, then came the emotional spiral. I started questioning everything. Like, was I not good enough for the job? Did I miss the signs? Was this my fault? Well, I know that it was not my fault. Did I miss the signs? I'm going to say no, that I did not miss the signs, because we had a new CEO that came in a couple years ago. Just right out the gate, he started like switching a lot of things up. Like we were 100% remote, and he changed that to hybrid, where we were in the office 3 days a week, 2 days at home. Of course, that did not sit well with a lot of people, because a lot of people built their lives around the work from home experience and enjoyed that work life balance. And there were a range of people who had just, were pregnant and expecting to be, continue to be stay at home moms. There were people that like sold their homes because they looked at it as an opportunity to just utilize their RV and travel and work and just do like kill two birds with one stone, that work life balance that I mentioned. Um, from people that sold cars, went down from having a two vehicles to one because the other one was no longer needed, because we have one person in the household that works home, all of the things. So a lot of people were, had left because, they felt like we were lied to as far as the work from home experience and all of that. And so then came the layoffs, just rolling, on, for the past couple of years. So finally it hit my department. So here I am. And so um, hearing all of that and just kind of going through those emotions, you have a range of emotions. Like you know, low key, I felt embarrassed because I'm the type of person that, everybody looks to and looks like she has it all together. She has a beautiful home, and she's always well put together and all of that. So, well, now that I lost my job, I'm like, what are people going to think about me? I felt kind of exposed and felt like I had failed, failed my family, like failed. And even though it's not my fault, you're human, you're going to have these thoughts. So, um, I just felt like a failure. Like I failed my daughter. She was in her last year of high school and heading off to college, which she's in college now. She actually just went a couple weeks ago. So, but um, you know, you have all of these thoughts, and so that's the part of the unemployment journey that people don't talk about. Like, the shame, um, the silence, the way unemployment can make you feel like you've disappeared. Um, like you've disappeared into this vortex of just unemployment, like you're nothing, in a sense. Excuse me, I have allergies, so if you hear me sniffling and everything, I want to apologize. It's September, or fall is my time, unfortunately, for allergies. But so uh, here's the truth. Those feelings that I just went through, that range of feelings, that range of emotions, they are valid. They're real. And they don't make myself, or they don't make you weak. They make us human. We lost our job, so how are we supposed to feel? And unemployment is a kind of grief. So you're mourning a role, you're mourning a rhythm, a version of yourself, that version of yourself that got into this routine of getting up, going to work, and seeing the kids off to school, making lunches, making a lunch for yourself, getting up, going to work, driving if you had to go into the office, or just, slipping out of bed, making you a quick breakfast and coffee, and then logging into your computer to do your job for the day. So that was, you're mourning that because now you don't have that to do. That rug has been pulled from underneath you, and so um, like any other grief, something like a job loss, it doesn't follow a neat timeline. It's like it came out of nowhere, for me, in a sense. Um, I have my days where some days I feel okay. Um, I can sit, at my desk or at my dining room table with my laptop and my coffee, and I can send out a few resumes. I can kind of like do a to-do list, and I feel hopeful. And other days, I can't even open my laptop. I avoid calls because you don't want to keep having the same conversation, with people, about how you feel, because at some point, I know for me, I'm speaking for me, it just gets to be tiring. It's like you're telling, like it's like the movie, Groundhog Day, like you're living the same thing every day. And then, sometimes to take my mind off of things and, get a good laugh, or just to try to, reinvent myself or whatever, I would scroll through YouTube, or maybe watch a little TV, or just, some news or whatever on my phone. And, sometimes I just feel stuck, you know, and all of that is okay because we have a right to feel that way. And I want you to hear this. Um, because you have lost your job, you've lost your routine, you no longer have that to do, like get up in the morning, um, go to your desk at at home or drive into work or whatever. You no longer have that to do. It does not make you lazy. You're not broken. You are healing. Believe it or not, I'm healing. And even though I have those days where I feel like I am worthless, nobody wants to hire me because I'm 49, and the older you get seems like they don't want to hire you, and they literally have that option nowadays. Unfortunately, if they want to. Um so yeah, it you have a right to feel all of that. But I'd like to switch gears here and talk about the emotional stages of unemployment, because this is what doesn't get talked about a whole lot. And I feel like naming these emotions helps us move through them. That way, we're looking it in the face, like we're saying, you know, the shock, that moment when everything changes and your brain can't catch up. That's how I felt on that call. Um, because I'm like, what did you just say? I heard you say that my position was eliminated, but your ears and your brain are trying to catch up with each other. Like, what does that mean? What does that even mean? And I can imagine how people felt that were actually in the office that day, um, when they got the news, because they went home on Friday, like any other Friday, had their weekend, came back on Monday, came into the building, got to their desk, but realized that they couldn't even log into their computers, because they had, gotten the news. They were told to go into a room where they were given the news. After that, leave the building. We'll send their stuff to you. That kind of thing. So that's a shock. That was that shock for me, and just feeling like, okay, did that just happen? Am I dreaming? And then comes the anger. Your anger can be directed at the company, right? Because you're like, they know that I need a job, they know that I have a child, they know that I have bills, so why would they do this? And on and on and on. You're mad at the system, or you're mad at yourself. For me, but that part of being mad at myself, I kind of took that because I was kind of looking for a job, like here and there. Like, I would see things on YouTube or Indeed, and I would just kind of apply and see if I would get it. And this was like maybe a year prior to, or maybe 6 months or so prior to this happening, because you know if it's happening in one area of the company, that it's bound, like it's going to reach you at some point. So I was trying to get ahead of the game, but then I slowed down because my dad was sick, and I honestly didn't know how sick he was. So my focus went on my dad. And then again, to hear that my uncle was sick and he was not, in the best of health, and it was going to be a matter of time before he passed. So I kind of put all of that stuff on hold and started dealing with that. And then, like I said, in the midst of all of that happening, bam, I lose my job. So, you know, and then there comes the sadness. And I just talked about that a little while ago. The deep ache of the loss, the fear of what's next. Like, you have that sadness because you've developed this routine, every day, all day, as far as your job is concerned. Like, you're getting up, you're going to work, you're packing lunches, you're packing your lunch, you're getting, you're getting your outfit ready for work if you have to go into the office or what have you. All of the things. And so that's sad. That's a loss, because you've probably had friends that talked to at work and like went to lunch with, and exchanged an email or two here, or conversation, in passing, or whatever. So that's an emotion, and that's a valid emotion to feel. And sometimes there's even that relief of there's even the relief, like a strange sense of freedom, Even though you know you need your job, it's like a strange sense of freedom. Like maybe, just maybe, this is a chance to start over, or maybe, just maybe, there's this chance that I can like rest now, because I never feel like I get rest even on the weekends, because your life is just go, go, go. Um, and honestly, all of these emotions are valid. You don't have to justify them. Like I never did justify them, because you're justified in how you feel about losing your job. That was your livelihood. So you're justified. You don't have to rush through them either. Don't feel like, oh, well, now I have to let me get over the shock and the sadness and the relief and whatnot of losing my job so that I can get on to the next thing. Like take time for you. Um, you don't, but what you do have to do in all of this is feel that. Like sit there and feel that. Like you have the right to do that. Just like you had the right to work, or everything else that you do, you have a right to feel those emotions. So feel that, process that, take time for yourself, and just kind of reframe. For me, the turning point came when I stopped trying to fix everything and started listening to myself. And myself was telling me, you need to rest because you're always doing things for everybody else. You're always making sure that everybody else is okay. And even though you lost your job, this is a time for you to rest. The holidays are coming up, and you just need to rest and enjoy the holiday the holiday for once. Just enjoy that. Just feel that. Just enjoy time with family. Don't even think about the fact that you've lost your job. Get through the new year, and then start looking. So that's what myself was telling me. And I asked, I would often ask myself, like, what do I need today? Not tomorrow, not next week, today. What do I need today? Do I need to rest today? Do I need to go outside for a walk today? Do I just need to take a drive and clear my head today? It was about me. Make it about you. You've made yourself available to everybody else, doing things for everybody else. Think of what and ask yourself, what do I need today? We're not going to talk about the future. We're not going to talk about tomorrow. What do I need today? And if that's rest, then do it. Listen to yourself. Um, and like I just said, like that for me, it was rest. Um, and I did that, and I did not feel any shame in doing that. And slowly, I started to rebuild. Um, just like I said, reframing and thinking of things. Do I need to maybe look into maybe training for another career, or do I need to work on my confidence? Because believe it or not, it does do something to your confidence when you are laid off and then you start that process of looking for a job, putting in, sending your resume out and you're getting rejections and everything. So that is important to make sure that you are also working on your confidence. So if you're in that space right now, feeling lost, overwhelmed, or just tired, know that I see you. Know that I am there, right there in the trenches with you. And I want you to know that you are not alone. It is good to know that I'm not alone as well. This is where this podcast was born from. This podcast is not here to rush you to recovery. It's not here to hold space for it. Detected at your front door. It's here to remind you that you're sorry about that. Somebody is at my door. So they would come while I'm doing a podcast, but I'm not going to edit it out. I'm just going to leave it the way that it is. But as I was saying, that this podcast is not here to rush your recovery. It's here to hold space for it, to remind you that your worth isn't tied to a job, that your story does not end here, that you're still becoming. Let that sink in. Um, and in future episodes, we'll talk about rebuilding confidence, rewriting your resume, navigating interviews. But today, we're just sitting with the truth, because sometimes That's the most powerful thing that we can do. We have to realize, where we are right now and how we feel. Because without feeling that, without overcoming that, we will be no good trying to go forward and um, s- do what we set out to do, which is to find a job and to reinvent ourselves if that's needed, to maybe pivot into a different career path. So I just, like I said, in future episodes, we'll talk about doing all of that. But the most power, the power that we have right now is, just sitting in that and understanding our grief, understanding our sadness, understanding what we need to do to get our confidence back and to continue to show up for ourselves in looking for employment. So with that, I want to thank you for taking the time to listening through my sniffling, listening through my deliveries at my door while I'm recording this podcast. I really enjoyed talking to you and supporting you, because again, I'm not giving you information that I read or that I found online just to help you through it. I am actually in the trenches with you, going through this as I speak, and this is not only encouragement for me and support for me and what I'm going through, but I'm glad that I could support you. So I want to thank you for showing up, and I thank you for trusting me with your time. This is Unemployment Speaks, and I am proud of you. And I just want to thank you again for listening. And we've got this.